Welcome to Profile 3 TV, and today I'm very excited to talk to Dave Kearney, and we're going to talk about remote working, the champion's mind, and loads of other things. So Dave, I'm going to hand over to you, and thank you very much for taking time out to talk to us today.
It's great to be here, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I guess I don't quite count as a serial entrepreneur quite yet. I'm on my second company. I founded a company called Fluid UI about 10 years ago now. It was a tool to help developers and designers to build mobile apps. It was right at the start of the Apple iPod or iPhone revolution. We built that up to about 20,000 customers in about 130 countries. We did a CSF funding round to Enterprise Ireland and then did match funding. And that company has been profitable for the last 5 years. After that, and more recently in the last year or so, I started working with a sports psychologist in the US called Jim Afremow. He's written 3 books. He's worked with the San Francisco Giants, with Arizona State University, and has trained 17 Olympic gold medalists, their mental skills. And we're building the Champions Mind app to help athletes and coaches to train amateur athletes and coaches to train the mental component of their sport.
Incredible. What a journey. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about your past, your future, your present and the future, if that's okay. So how did you find scaling a company up to so many users and countries around the world? Exciting, tough, hard?
Yeah, it's all a bit of a blur, I guess. I guess in order to build something successfully, you really need to understand the business model that you're trying to put together. So you can charge anything from $1 per customer up to a couple of $1 million per customer, and everything that goes with the product and the story and how you interact with customers depends basically on what those customers are going to pay you. So to take a simple example, if you take something like WhatsApp or Facebook, where there's very, very small revenue every single day, week, or year per customer, maybe a couple of dollars, you have to have a billion people using that platform in order to make it profitable. In terms of Fluid, where maybe the lifetime value of a customer is $100 to $150, you still need to automate a huge amount of the customer acquisition, the customer support, all of the interactions. You can't be doing kind of one-to-one sales calls up until maybe you get to maybe the more high-end value customers, or maybe a couple of $1,000s. Then you might be able to get onto phone calls, do direct sales, and all the way up into the millions. Then you can start getting on a plane, flying to people there. So I think in order to understand what your business is going to be like, that business model is the first most important component, and then everything kind of flows out of that.
Incredible. So no matter what business anyone's in, they need to understand and focus on the business model first. Yeah,
and it comes down to simple kind of, I guess, relationship between the quality of support and the quality of offering that you can give somebody depends on what you're getting in exchange for that. And that's in terms of the individual kind of personal attention. What technology allows you to do is potentially scale that in a way that wasn't possible before. So with Champions Mind, for example, we looked at the sports psychology space, and there's no kind of pre-existing tools that are being used by sports psychologists in the space. And the problem there is that if you want to improve your sport and kind of overcome those mental hurdles that are preventing you from kind of reaching peak performance, in order to speak with a sports psychologist or a mental skills coach, you're looking at maybe 10 sessions of one-to-one training, and that can amount to a couple of $100, maybe $1,000. So that's an expensive proposition, particularly for an amateur athlete. So what technology and what we're trying to do at Champions Mind, for example, is to try and bring a lot of those core components, which are repeatable, into a technology, into an app, and actually make it more accessible to those amateur athletes who want to maybe spend $50 on that. So that's, again, it's just changing the model slightly.
Incredible. And so Champions Mind, just to explain to anyone that hasn't tried the app yet and went and checked it out just yet, and I know they'll do it just as we're chatting, explain what Champions Mind is and the services on offer.
Sure. So Champions Mind it's a platform. We use the word platform rather than app because it's web enabled, and it's about what we deliver to customers. But basically, it's a way any athlete, particularly kind of amateur athletes or people who want to compete in whatever sport they choose, can download the app. They can buy it in the App Store, and then we also have a coach edition. We're currently focused on the NCAA in the US, which is the college sports organizations there. There's about 1,000 colleges associated with that. And what we allow either the athlete on their own to do is take a kind of a mental skills training course, or in the case of the coaches can run that mental skills training course with all of their athletes and as a program within that college, basically.
Incredible. So actually, really, it can be an individual user or a coach looking after a team.
Yeah, and I think there's, again, if we're talking on the business side of the offering, I think what's really interesting there is that you can now create a product that can sell to different groups of people using, for the most part, the same technology. So you can download the app. Anybody can do that. They can buy the app. They can get the quality of content if they're training, for example, for a marathon on their own, or if they're training for a triathlon on their own. Or if they're just interested in it. A lot of business leaders use the app as well, because sports psychology is performance psychology, and business success is based on a lot of the same principles.
Incredible. I was just going to ask: is the psychology part of sportsmanship? You think it's a critical element of what our elite athletes do?
Yeah, it's one of those things that's kind of hard to quantify, right? But if you ask any athlete, particularly athletes at the very, very top level of their sport, how much of their sport is mental? They'll often say it's like 50% of it is mental, or 90% of it is mental, right? But when you actually ask them how they spend their time training, practicing, developing skills, playing games, they give almost zero attention to that component of their sport. And it's kind of crazy in a certain way.
And the app, I know we're talking about athletes here as well, but even you could maybe argue that business people, entrepreneurs, or anyone in their daily life doesn't really maybe focus enough on this element as we go a day-to-day job.
Absolutely. I mean, peak performance is peak performance. And what's been shown is that if you're a successful athlete, you can transfer your skills between different sports, and you can then transfer those skills into the business world as well. So, all of the kind of core components of successful leadership and teamwork, which ultimately is about knowing and understanding other people and how to work with them. It's an empathy-based skill. That's an important part of sports psychology. The ability to just, display the right amount of aggression or at the right time for the right sport is important. The ability to calm and relax yourself in between those moments of, I guess, high intensity is hugely important. And we don't specifically target businesses with the app, but sport is ultimately, it's a metaphor for life. It's, you set out, you have goals, you try to achieve them, you succeed or sometimes you fail. And it's one of the reasons that successful athletes also go on to be successful business people, because they understand very early in life that there are challenges, and if you don't put your best foot forward, then you can lose, you can fail.
Incredible. And I'm thinking of, as you say, the taking the skills or the learning from that, and even looking at your success, and you have to be so focused, so determined when there's distractions outside or around you, just to focus on the jobs and get the things that matter most done. And I fully understand that you live and breathe that in everything you do.
It's definitely all consuming at times, right? But it's where I consider myself to be incredibly lucky that I have the opportunity to kind of choose a path of my own making, because that's an opportunity that isn't afforded to a lot of people. And when we sit down and we look at Ireland, we look at where Ireland is in the world and how lucky we are to have been born here. I think that there's a lot going for us, and there's a little bit of a responsibility to maybe give back to other people as business leaders and people who have the opportunities that we do to be doing calls like this today.
Yeah, Again, so very grateful for you taking time out again and sharing just some of your thoughts with us. So it's great that you're doing that. And you mentioned in your previous business that you raised investment and used that to scale. Do you think that many businesses aren't aware how they can scale their business through investment?
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting question. I have to admit, I don't like. I come from maybe an environment where the existence of investors is fairly common. I don't know how much that is the case maybe in business in general. So it's definitely there and available. I think the most important thing to consider, first of all, though, is whether or not your business is a business that should seek venture investment, because there's difficulties associated with it, there's consequences of it associated with it, and there are things that investors will never tell you simply because it's not in their interest to say, actually, your business, it might be a lifestyle business. You might just want to, build a coffee shop and be happy and make enough money out of that coffee shop. Nobody's going to invest, no institutional investors are going to invest in a coffee shop simply because what they want to do is get 10, 20, 50, or 100 times their money back on their investment. And a coffee shop isn't going to be able to do that. You might say, well, hey, I want to build a chain of coffee shops. And I go, okay, well, in Ireland, how many is that? 15, 20? Right. Why are we not going to the US market where you could build 5,000? Because, so you've got to be thinking about that scale, and you've got to be happy with that scale. Because if you are an entrepreneur who wants to set up a business and you want that business to sustain you, and maybe employ a couple of people, and you want to enjoy that, that's probably not the right path to go down seeking investment. So I say, before you get that investment or before you think about it, just make a decision. Are you an entrepreneur who wants to build a business because you want to grow something international, grow to a massive scale in a very, very short period of time, and then ultimately you have to sell it? Those investors will come in, they will take, for every investment round, maybe 20, 30% of the company. They will take ownership and control at a board level. And you will, to a certain extent, you need to dance to their tune a little bit. But the minute you take investment, your company is either on a trajectory to be sold or to fail, and to fail quickly. There's no middle ground from an investor perspective where they're happy to just keep your business going. Well, it's there for 20 years. It's ticking along nicely. That's not the mindset of the investor. So unless you start a company with the intention to grow it, scale it, and sell it, then you shouldn't go down that investor route.
Incredible. And you know what, in all my time and year in this industry, I haven't heard it explained that way. So thank you. That's brilliant. Because I'll tell you, I'll put my hand. I've had an investment two rounds or three rounds in a previous company, and we have a software product as well. We spun out, and it's going through investment now, and we could have grown it organically over 5 years, but we've made a very tough decision to take investment. But as you say, that is the two options there, the two roads you're going down, and it is a very big decision, and you don't realize it until you're halfway down the investment what it actually means.
Yeah, and like with the first company, with Fluid UI, so we did a couple of early investment rounds with angel investors and with Enterprise Ireland, and we then specifically made the decision not to go further down and on with institutional investors. The company was at a point where it had enough revenues, it was doing well, and it was a really, really solid basis for us to continue on kind of exploring new ideas and doing new things. So it's a choice that you need to make first as an entrepreneur, and if you make that choice, because the investors will, it's their job, is they sell themselves to entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs can exist without investors, but investors can't exist without entrepreneurs. So you're the person that holds the keys, and you need to make that decision first. And once you've made that decision, then you can choose when and where to go, if it makes sense.
Incredible. No, brilliant advice. And do you think businesses face challenges when they're scaling or trying to scale their business?
I mean, there's challenges every day in every aspect of every business, right? So scaling, I guess, makes things harder faster, and it creates a different set of problems. And other problems go away. So I'm trying to think of, like, if you build a sales funnel for your product, you get some investment in, you get $1 million worth of investment in. Now suddenly you can hire an expert in sales, right? And same with marketing. You can go ahead and you can hire an expert, and you don't need to be the expert in sales and marketing and finance and product development and 10 other areas where you're splitting your time. You can start to delegate yourself. But then new problems creep in, right? Because suddenly you've hired a bunch of people, you start to get HR problems. You start to get, you need to start creating processes and procedures and taking things out of your head that could take 5 minutes in your head, but you need to train people up on them. And now it suddenly takes maybe a half a day to document it and to train somebody and to hand it over. So there are necessary consequences of scaling. Similarly, you need to have once you kind of go down the investment route, you're going to be expected to significantly increase your cash flow and your burn very, very quickly by hiring those new people. So, that's going to put you in, a money losing scenario. And, there's going to be a lot of stress in trying to bring those things together. So, scaling is a different set of challenges. It's definitely a challenge that's interesting to me because it's one of the toughest things that I can imagine doing in terms of going from a 2-person company to a 10-person company. And all of a sudden, when you have 10 people, you need to start putting a layer of management in. And then you go from, to 25 to 30 people, now you need 2 layers of management in, and so on. And the skill set you need as a founder, as an entrepreneur, to create the product and then sell the product is different to the one that's necessary to manage the creation of the project and manage the selling of the product, which is a different one again to the one that's managing the management of creating the product or selling the product. So at each level of scaling, there's a different level of abstraction, and there's a different skill set you need as a leader to be able to effectively run the organization at that point.
Incredible. And do you think you need to have a very entrepreneurial mindset to overcome these challenges?
For that particular case, no. I think the entrepreneurial mindset comes in a little bit earlier. I think that, for an entrepreneur to want to kick something off, they have to be the kind of person that, is really passionate. They see a problem and they can't bear seeing that problem not fixed in the world. So, and they know that there's huge risk involved in starting any venture, particularly kind of a fast scaling venture where you're trying to build a product. There's a cost associated with that at the start before you can generate sales. So you have to be a little bit crazy. You have to be a little bit insane. But more than that, you can either know and understand the consequences or the risk associated, or be oblivious to it. That could be acceptable too. But ultimately, that mindset comes in at the very, very start of the company. And then as the company grows and scales, you need to continue to maintain that risk, but other things also become necessary, like the kind of the management component and the scaling component.
Amazing. And do you think everyone has a entrepreneurial mindset or can be an entrepreneur, or is that?
Well, this comes back to champion's mind, right? And part of what is it that makes somebody think better, more constructively, more positively about what they do. And if you go to kind of like the growth mindset versus fixed mindset kind of concepts in psychology, you go, if you have this fixed mindset, sure, you're not going to try hard to achieve anything because it's either it's an innate skill you have or you don't have it and you don't try any harder. But if you have that growth mindset, you're like, I could try this and I could fail, which is another reason why sports people make good business people, is because they understand the concept of losing. And I could try this and I could succeed. But if I fail, I'm going to learn a lesson. If I succeed, I'm also going to learn a lesson, but I'll be a little bit happier. But each day, regardless, I'm going to get up again and I'm going to do something that's going to try and push me towards that vision that I have in my head.
Wow, amazing. And going back to products and design, just based on your experience, why is it important in the design stages to create products with the customer mind?
So yeah, I guess I'm first and foremost, I'm a product person. I'm a technical kind of person by background. I kind of got into product design. From product design, I got into kind of marketing, and then what underpins all of those things is kind of an understanding of psychology, which is kind of which led me to kind of the whole Champions Mind path. But I think one of the things maybe people make a big mistake on when they start a company, they try to solve a problem, is they try to solve a problem that they see themselves. And they put themselves in the mindset of a customer, but that isn't necessarily accurate enough, particularly that early stage where your resources are limited, to be able to solve that problem as well as they could. So, we might say have the same problem in terms of needing a video conferencing solution like right now, but we might have different personality types, and one of us might prefer Zoom, one of us might prefer how Skype works, one of us might prefer how Hangouts works because it's already integrated with Google Calendar. And understanding, if you look at me and I say, hey, look, I prefer Zoom because X, Y, or Z features are in it, that doesn't mean that that's the most prevalent opinion in the market, right? So what you need to do is actually go out there and talk to a large enough cross-section of your customers to understand which parts of the problem that you feel are real problems that have big markets, and which parts of those problems are maybe smaller. Because if you don't have that enough understanding of the customer problem in kind of both, an individual, but also at a kind of a quantitative sense, you'll make business decisions that will cost valuable time, cost valuable resources, and defocus the product that you're building away from kind of what might make a customer best enjoy the particular product that you're trying to build. So talking to customers is really the only way to do that. And whenever you have to use your own opinion to solve the problem, but you can't use your own opinion to understand what the problem is. You have to talk to other people to do that.
Incredible. And that's, I was so keen to ask you that question, because that was one, I think you've just surmised probably the fundamental issue in my first startup. So I think that was, I knew that I was the customer.
Right. Yeah. And look, it's where we all start, right? And it's in no way isolated. I'm sure I did it myself with the first one, and maybe I just got a little bit lucky as well. That get away. But if you get lucky, you can play this game, right? You're going to invest 3 or 4 years of your life into trying to build something, and you can roll the dice. And the question is, do you want to be needing double sixes, or do you want to be, playing the odds a little bit better? And that's what you're always trying to do. It's like, if it takes you 6 months to build a feature to a professional level of polish, and it takes you 6 days to talk to 20 customers, how much time do you want to invest in making sure that that feature is something that they actually care about? It's a risk reward thing, and talking to those people really, really just, it doesn't take that long compared to the risk that you're taking further down the line.
Incredible. No, great advice again. And we're obviously in very strange times. Do you think that skills or roles like project management within your team and in your business are important today, or more important?
I guess I'm a huge fan of efficiency, as might have come across, and kind of performance. It's really kind of what drives me individually to do the best I can, and to build the best teams that I can. And project management is hugely influential in the outcome of kind of particularly scaling teams, not necessarily when there's maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people in a company. But when you start to grow and scale, the communication in a company starts to kind of become harder, right? It's very easy when you're one person to have, all of the ideas in one brain connected to each other. When there's 2 people, it's twice as hard. And when there's 3 people, it's 4 times as hard. 4 people, it's 8 times as hard, because it's just so many different relationships there. Project management can take all of those things and ensure that the communication is effective across the organization, particularly as it scales. And that means, making sure that the management team's priorities are completed in order, that each individual member of the team has the knowledge and understanding of what they are and what their role is with regards to delivering that successfully for this particular project. And often, particularly in software and particularly in internet, you've got requirements that change very, very quickly in terms of understanding of the customer problem. So we talked about being able to roll out a feature in a month and maybe having a roadmap for the next couple of features. But if you talk to 20 customers and all of a sudden that last feature that you built last month means that, hey, well, actually, that other one isn't as important anymore. We need to change our roadmap. You need to be able to move and change the direction of your organization very quickly, try and accomplish that, or to try and react to that customer feedback from the market. And effective project management is a really, really important tool in delivering that successfully.
Incredible. No, great to get your advice on that one. And obviously, you're one of our leading tech entrepreneurs in Ireland. It's great to see. Well, having success. It's not easy. No. Having success in tech and being based in Ireland is it's great to see. And obviously, a lot of other business owners and entrepreneurs look up and look for inspiration, which is great to see. Do you think Ireland should still be viewed as a location for tech startups and going forward, because it's had a few golden years now at this stage?
Well, I mean, first of all, I guess to go to your first point, it never really feels like success on the inside, right? Because what something can look on the outside, people can see a very, very different view, whereas you get as the person who's passionately involved in every decision and every point of the company, you see all the flaws and as well as all the strengths. And hopefully the better job you do, the less your customers see of that. But definitely there's never a point of satisfaction in terms of the work that needs to be done. But look, there's the joy is in the journey, it's not in the destination. And it's always really good, and thank you for saying that, to be able to say, well, hey, look, from the outside, it looks like there's something really, really polished, and it looks like there's something, that's very professional. And I think that's the best compliment you can get. So, kind of thank you for that. In terms of Ireland, I think Ireland has a lot of positives, and we've kind of discussed some of those positives before. It's probably the best country in the world to live in right now, in terms of getting wealth distribution, in terms of educational opportunities, in terms of equality. And we're not there yet. It's not a fixed problem, but I'm really, really proud to be Irish, because I think we've solved a lot of problems and social problems, particularly in the last maybe 20 years, that has made our society a better place to live. In terms of kind of the entrepreneur supports, we're probably a little bit further behind some of the other European nations. And America would have maybe a different approach to those. America would be more, use money, get venture capital, take more risk, and go all in and try and make it work. Enterprise Ireland are a fantastic organization. They're really, really good. But at the moment, in terms of COVID, the Irish government is definitely lagging, particularly behind some of our European neighbors in terms of support for early stage startups. So I think there's opportunities there that are being missed. And I think if you look up Scale Ireland, which is one of the organizations that's feeding into this, they're saying maybe 40,000 jobs in Ireland right now are at risk, simply because there's no supports there. There's supports for bigger companies, there's supports for unemployment, but there's no support for early stage companies where we're a good bit further behind. So I think Ireland has other major advantages. Its location, its language, it's 8 hours distant from San Francisco, not 9. So it means there's a working hour shared. I say that the people, the culture is fantastic, but there's still work to be done, particularly at a government level, to make sure that Ireland is the first choice destination, particularly in Europe, for early stage startups.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. I look back and thinking of all the years, 10, 20 years ago where we were and where we are today, it's incredible. But you're right, no, I definitely would agree. I think there's big opportunities, and hopefully we'll see them slip in the years ahead as different governments realize that the opportunity is in tech and startups and the creatives. But let's see, time will tell.
Absolutely. And look, we have, with Intercom, we have a $1 billion Irish company that was created. I remember sitting beside them in the office. We were in a shared office when there were still 8 of them. and now they're worth over $1 billion. And that was like 10 years ago. So it's absolutely possible to build globally recognized scalable businesses from inside Ireland. Stat Sports would be another similar company. Again, I think they have just to throw around the word $1 billion again, they have a $1 billion contract with US soccer, all the way up and down through all the levels of soccer in the US. That's over 5 years. So they're well on their way to becoming one of those kind of massively successful indigenous companies that are built here. There's no question that Irish people can do it. They do need the support. And when they do succeed, the output of that from the Irish economy is absolutely massive.
Yeah, the number of jobs, and the spill out of everything else that comes from that. No, it is incredible. It's great to see.
And to get, like, even just with the Fluid UI example, my first company, we were built here. We have a distributed team, so we have people in Poland, we have people kind of around Europe, but 97% of the revenue from that company came from outside Ireland. So that means that 97% of that money was coming into the Irish economy. It was paying for Irish taxes. It was creating Irish jobs. It was bringing money into the economy here, and that could all be run from Ireland. So there's that benefit in terms of just the amount of extra money coming into the economy is huge.
It is incredible. So next steps then for yourself and Champions Mind. What does the next months and years look like?
Yeah, so interesting question. I say with Fluid, we built a product, we built kind of a company, and that became a little bit of a lifestyle company where we didn't want to sell it. We were happy with its position in the market. With Champions Mind, we've it's almost kind of following the other path. It's saying, look, let's go down, let's get that venture investment, let's scale the company. Let's start talking to the people who could potentially acquire that company very, very early on, knowing who they are, starting to build those relationships with them. And then let's try to sell that company within 4 years. So there is whether or not we achieve it, that's our goal. And we won't achieve it if we're kind of, wandering around aimlessly, or we're less likely to achieve it aimlessly. So we do want to build look, you're not going to build a product and sell it, or a company and sell it, unless you actually build something fundamentally of value first. So the first step on that puzzle, it's not an easy, hey, let's build something and sell it. It's build something that people want, that people care about, that people are really, really passionate about as a product. Get that, to a level of penetration where it's strategically useful to, maybe one of the bigger fish in the pond, and then start those conversations. So it's, our goal is to build something and sell it, is to go down that venture investment route. But again, it's not necessary. It's just what we have chosen early on for this particular company.
Incredible. So we all watching out now for the news over the next couple of years, waiting for the headline to pop up.
I look forward to it. We'll chat again. Maybe we'll be at a lockdown at that stage. Hey?
Oh, it's not enough said. So brilliant. So anyone who's watching this, where's the best way, or how can they check out your companies, just to see what you're doing and to see what's happening? What is there websites they should visit? Yeah,
download the app from the App Store or the Play Store. If you're an athlete or you're interested in, sports performance psychology, regardless of what area of work you do. You can search for that in the App Store or the Play Store. You can download it from championsmind.app. And if you're a coach for any of the Irish sports teams, get in touch as well. We offer the coach licenses, which again allow a coach to kind of, with minimal extra effort, because obviously these people are busy people, to provide all of their athletes with a quality mental skills training course that basically will improve the athlete's ability to work together as a team, work together individually, and to have a fun time playing sport, because that's ultimately what it's all about.
Amazing and excellent. It's great to see so many good reviews on the app as well. So when people go and check it out, so it's an amazing success in that respect. And what we'll do is we'll make sure we've links underneath the video, so people can quickly click through and check it out. So again, Dave, thank you very much for your time today. That was brilliant. Really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Excellent. And thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this chat and the advice from Dave. Do check out his companies below. Check the links below. And if you're in sports or know anyone in sports, why not share this video with them and the link to the app as well. So definitely they need to be checking that out and see how they can improve their mindset. If you did enjoy the video, please do share it on social media, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.